Well, hello everybody. Haven't made a honing video in a while. Just got done making the scales for this Wade&Butcher. I'm not sure what year it was. Not quite. I don't know. It's an interesting grind where they left the spine flat on the side and stuff. There's actually a couple of them that Marion sent me. I got another one right here that's a little bit older, it looks like, because of the way they stamped it. But the grind's basically the same. Both scales were horn. So I had to remake them because they were all busted. Reused the lead wedge. Water buffalo. So what I wanted to do, try this different hone angle. I wanted to talk about bring up a point that Adam at Yield Straight and Strop made. He made a few videos. He talked about hanging hair tests and knowing if that's a real sharp edge or if it's just a parlor trick. And he was demonstrating that you could get HHT hanging hair test off of a 1K or a low grit stone. And when you are at your first beginning stage, so the bevel was set on this already. I had done some regrinding because it had some really heavy hone wear as well as a wonky grind to it. So I did a little bit of corrections. I didn't go ham. I didn't try flattening out the spine and all that kind of stuff. But I got it to where it would hanging hair test just off shaping the blade, and then I cleaned it up with a lower grit chew Japanese stone. And so what I wanted to talk about is that hanging hair test, or that test, because I like the packing peanut. And basically what I'm looking for is, see, it's going in, so the bevel's set but not refined. You hear it squeaking and stuff and make a noise. So I want to have that to where that is soundless on a lower thing. This is not really low grit, but this one has decent range, and I built up a little slurry on it with a Toma plate. I don't remember what it is now, but it's fairly worn out now. But I want to have all that stuff established in the beginning, so I have my foundation set up first, and then I can move on to the polishing stage. And that's what Adam was talking about, is after you get through, let's say he's using synthetic stones, after he gets through his, 5K or maybe a little bit lower grit, after that it's all polishing. And if you are trying to do your corrections when you're trying to polish, and on the higher grit stones or the finer particles in the stone, if you're using natural stones, you're going to be spinning your wheels. You're not going to get your consistent edge. So by working at it in the beginning and refining it as much as you can at that point, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and a lot of frustration, because so you hear that sound, that it's going in like really easy. So the bevel is definitely set, but it's not consistent and it's not fully refined as I would want it. And I just felt like messing around on this purple slate. I'm not sure where it is from, but it has a nice cut to it. It's smooth. But by roughing it up with a diamond plate, I'm going to bring some more light in there. it gives you a little bit more range to it. But also wanted to talk about sensations, and it's difficult to talk about that because everybody's got their own kind of way they hold the razor, how they put pressure on the stone, and understanding those sensations are kind of difficult to express when you're not the one feeling it. So all you can do is just on a video is kind of try to help express that. So when they say that your edge is biting into your stone, it's you're getting consistent resistance from that motion through the whole thing. You're not getting some grab here and then slips and then grabs here. That means you have an inconsistent bevel, and that those parts that are sticking have to be worked a little bit more because they're the highest point, and then it goes down. So that's why you feel the skip, because the rest is holding it up off of the stone, and that's on a microscopic level. And you can add a little bit more pressure on it to kind of work those areas and work it out to where it's there, but you don't want to be hand fisting on there, because basically you could be tearing up, damaging the steel, warping the steel, pushing it to its limit, and setting yourself back by trying to force it too much. And if you're finding that's the case, then that's the point that you need to say, I need to go back to the previous stone, or actually a couple of stones, because you didn't quite make it. And with the finer grit, the way the grooves it makes in it are tinier, they're shallower, and then of course the bigger it's the deeper. So the deeper has the high ridges, and then it goes down and deep, and then basically you're trying to cut down those high ridges with the lower grit to make it so you get back down to those lower ones. The idea is not necessarily removing the scratches and getting a perfect polish. That's kind of, as Greg calls it, is honing by scope. Ideally is you're refining that edge to where it meets up almost as perfectly as you can, because we're working with imperfect stones and perfect blades and perfect persons. So what we can do is we can get the closest we can. And so relying on our senses is ideally what's going to help you in developing consistency and understanding of what's going on with your blade and the stone. And that is more, like, further along I get into it, that's the more it helps me not predict, but kind of understand what's going on. And all you can do is just put the time in and practice, and just test different things out, whether you think they're right or wrong. Experimenting is one of the best things you can do to learn, because then you figure out after some time that, well, you know what, that option maybe not working for me. I could try something different. And if it worked once, it doesn't mean it's going to work again. So that's where you get into kind of the scientific aspect of it, in trying to weigh out and figure out what's actually working for you and what's not. So it's kind of can be a strategic thing, but for most people that do the honing, it's about relaxation. It's about spending time listening to the wisp of the stone and taking time for themselves, and getting an enjoyable time with it. I don't know what. Okay, just really rewarding. You get this thing all wetted down. So if you see how dark this stone is. It's kind of hard to see, but the slurry is kind of a blue color. And then next to what you can see, let me see if I can get the thing down. So you see the difference. This is a silkstone, but there's little particles, sparkly particles that are in this that are also in here. It's just this stone is darker, but that's the closest guess I can guess. But the finish and the way it feels, like this feels like silk. Like it is just more than buttery smooth. And this is just a pure polisher. It doesn't have any kind of cutting capabilities like the previous stones. You can get some out of the silkstone with some slurry, but that one's pretty much upper mid to finish, and this is just a purely finishing stone. And most of what I do, like these kind of things, these are all different ways of blending the strokes. Because if you're doing it in one spot, because you're using something that's shaped, and you're going to get something flat, you're going to have little flat spots in it. So by varying your roll and the direction that it goes on the stone, you have those little microscopic waves. You're kind of taking off the tops and evening it out. And the more even you have it, the more even your part of the apex lines up, and the more consistent and comfortable the razor is going to shave, because one part's not going to grab and the other part's going to go through no problem, you know. But usually that doesn't happen, because usually it's a leveling kind of effect. It kind of evens it out. I can't think of the word. Equalizer. And listening to the sound, I've said it before, but the sound will change. It's the same with when stropping and stuff. You can hear the pitch change. And being a thicker blade, you're not going to hear the ringing like you would on, let's say, 3/4 to full hollow grinds, extra full hollow grinds. I have a 3/4 grind that sings, so. And the higher the pitch of the ring that it puts out when you strop, usually tells you how fine you've gotten that apex, because that blade wants to vibrate when you do that. You're causing friction, causes it to vibrate like a musical instrument, and the smaller it is or shorter it is, it's going to make a higher pitch. It's the same with the xylophone things. When they hit those little tabs or whatever, the smaller they are, the thinner they are, the higher the pitch is going to go. It's the same with when you're stropping. And this isn't the be-all end-all telling you that your razor is where it needs to be. Basically, ultimately, it comes down to how efficient is it cutting through the hair on your face or on your head. So in my case, I shave my head. That's when I do the test. And if it makes it so it's comfortable, doesn't have resistance, it just goes right through it, no pressure, then that's a pass for me. So I appreciate you guys watching, and oh yeah, I'll show the wedge went in there from the original. So I appreciate you guys watching. You guys have a good one, guys, gals, whoever. Anybody.